Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fairmede Hilltop Neighborhood Council meeting. Today's date is January 26th. It's Thursday night, 7 p.m. I want to thank you all for coming. Anybody that didn't get our newsletter, there's some out here in the front desk. Feel free to pick one up. I want to thank our beat officer for coming. We have our mayor, our new mayor here. So before we get started, I wanted to mention we just had elections, and if there's anybody here that's interested in running, we had posted it in our newsletter. We spoke about it at our last meeting. So if there's anybody that would like to run, let us know. Tonight's the night. If not, we'll continue to run as we have in the past. I'd like to invite our beat officer here to speak right now. By the way, go Niners.
Of course. Of course. Is there any other option?
No. Not in the Bay.
Not in the Bay anymore. All right. Hey, Officer Church, Richmond PD. So the statistics I got from Lieutenant Bashan to share with you guys today. I believe this is for the past month in the Fairmede area. Thefts. We've got 8 reported. Car thefts, 5. Misdemeanor domestic batteries, 3. Vandalism, 2. Misdemeanor thefts, 2. I suppose you'd call that shooting into an unoccupied dwelling, just a call of shots fired, nobody hit, nothing struck. 2. A recovered stolen vehicle, we got 1 drunk in public, 1 felony vandalism, 1 5150, 1 parole violation, 1 possession of a firearm, and 1 shooting into an occupied dwelling. So, I was also asked to share some information about our current staffing with the police department. So, just wanted to let you guys know that our recruiting folks are working hard. We currently have 7 officers in the police academy. 2 are in the Oakland Police Academy and 5 are in the Contra Costa Academy. So those academies just started, and they usually run about 6 months. And the training program on top of that is another 4 months usually. We have 5 officers that just entered the FTO program this month. So they're due to be off in about 4 to 5 months. We have 8 officers on injury or sick leave, 3 on modified duty due to injury, and currently we have 34 openings in our department for officers, well, I guess 28 officers. We've got 5 sergeant openings and a captain opening. All those positions are funded. We're just struggling to fill them, like every other police department. Our dispatch, where they're working as long hours as we are, they have 8 openings currently. We have openings across our other departments also, records, jail, property, and crime scene investigation. So with those numbers, I'll open the floor. Sir.
Give you a softball question. Why are our recruits at so many different academies instead of one academy?
It just depends on when we get their background investigation, their background packets done. They have to do a polygraph test, they have to go through psychological evaluation, all these different testing, and then when the academies start. So some academies they have evening academies that go longer. Contra Costa usually does at least 2 to 3 academy sessions a year. Oakland does at least 2 to 3 also. So it just depends on where they are when they finish the process with us, and we give them a conditional offer, and when is the next class starting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's no there's no measurable difference in quality of training that they get at either place, if that's...
Will the academies agree with you on that, or?
Well, I'm sure there's a little bit of competition
Yeah.
between them, but, you know, the recruits that we get out here, you understand the academy is a very basic instruction. It does take 6 months, which we're, you know, 50, 60 hours a week is a lot of stuff to cram into somebody's head in a short period of time. The real experience and the real quality that they're going to get is with the FTO program, and then when they start out on their own here at Richmond and pick up the culture and the policies and the procedures that we have here. So.
And for those of us not on the street, what does FTO stand for?
Field Training Officer.
Thank you.
Yeah, Field Training Program. So.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could tell us what area does your beat cover, and those statistics that you just read off, are those for the beat or for this neighborhood?
The statistics I read were for Fairmede. That's what Lieutenant Sean sent me for tonight. But I cover Harchester up here to Hilltop, Fairmede area, and the mall, and these areas around here. So it basically from the highway down to about Goodrick. Yeah. Sir?
The cadet program, is that still in play?
I have not seen cadets. For those of you who don't know, the cadet program is basically, it can be, I don't know the actual ages, but it's like, usually I've seen seniors in high school up to, college kids that kind of do a program where they're handling, they get some training with one of our field training officers, and then they go out and they do some of our activities that do not have to interact so much with the public, such as abandoned vehicle towing, maybe taking cold reports from citizens. With the citizen contact they would have would be when there's no chance of coming in contact with a suspect or anything like that. So different departments have different names for these community service officers. We do this as kind of my understanding is that this has been traditionally here, it's been a program to kind of introduce people. It was an explorer post at one time. I don't know if it still is affiliated with the Boy Scouts of America, but gave our young people in the community opportunity to get some training and actually work and earn a salary also while you're doing this. And it's been a great program. We've got 2 of our new officers that just got off FTO, so they're released on full duty in the past year that went through that cadet program. So, and I know that there are several others that have more senior officers that have come through that. So it's been something in the past, but right now I don't know that. I think what I heard is they're trying to get some of the officers to start the post up again to where they can get cadets going, but I haven't seen any actual boots on the ground, as it were. So I don't have anything more specific than that.
Well, you can tell Chief French that City Council and the Mayor's office would be behind pushing the cadet program so that it's viable.
Yeah, you just got me thinking about it, and I don't know why we haven't seen it. I don't know if it was stopped for COVID or, I mean, it's one of those things that would, when I first got here, it was a lot more, strong and supported. So I would love to see that again. We'll pass that along.
Yeah, I was on a meeting with Chief French, and they mentioned that they had one cadet person that moved on to the next level, and that they were looking to foster and bring some more cadets. So they had one that just went on to the next level, and they're looking to foster and bring some.
Okay, great. So Chief French is aware of this, and I'll pass that along to my lieutenant also, just to let him know that we're talking about it here, and it's got the support of the community. Thanks.
I wanted to ask, how many officers in your beat per day, and how many hours are you working per day?
So our shifts, we've got 5 different shifts that we work as officers, and Monday through Thursday we work 10-hour shifts, 6:30 to 4:30 for day shift. I'm swing shift 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. and then graveyard is 9:30 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. And then our weekend guys, they just work the 3 days, but their shifts are 12 and a half hours. So they work a little bit extra, and it makes it a long day having worked those shifts many times. And then they have to make up the 40 hours, they do a training day each month. But so we're at least working 10 hours a day. But most of us, like today, I started at 7 a.m. and I'll be off at 1 a.m. And we usually end up having to do that about twice a week, based on our shortages. So.
And how many in your beat, per beat?
Oh yeah, one officer in each beat, and there's 9 beats in the city. And so, like, up on the hill, that's how we refer to you guys up here, up on the hill, there's myself and another officer that's in the incorporated El Sobrani area. So there's 2 of us that usually work together up here on the hill, kind of separated from the rest of the city. That's where the other officers are, the other 7.
So we've got a gentleman back here that's interested in talking to you about speeding,
Okay.
on Gilma. And also he wants to talk about traffic calming measures like speed bumps, maybe 1 or 2 on Gilma, because it's kind of out of control up here sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Was that you? Oh, okay. Go ahead. Yeah, what's the specific?
First timer, I mean, was just here to suggest maybe a speed bump here on, really just right across here on Gilma. There's all the surrounding streets, they all have their own speed bumps, and I think people would know that, and they kind of just try to cut through there, really.
They're using that as a cut through.
Yeah.
They're using Gilma.
And I've noticed that's not only that, but people probably like crossing the street or kids want to play, it's become kind of an issue, especially during the day.
Yeah, it certainly is. I know that, pedestrian, pedestrian involved collisions are a point of concern for the police department. They are unfortunately all too common. But
I was gonna say good luck to you trying to get speed bumps out on Whistle Drive. I've been trying to, I put in my petition, all the documentation 3 years ago. And I've yet to have anything done on my street.
It's worth a try, right?
Yeah, that's what we try.
Once they put the speed bumps on Warriors and Change, they're using my street Whistle as a throughway and they speed up and down the donuts. And so I'm still pushing the city and all those people to get that done. I was promised it was gonna be taken care of, and yet it's still not done.
Well, we have a new mayor now, so.
well, as far as the police department response, we want to support any kind of community efforts, and this is a great forum to pool your efforts. Obviously, everybody get together, do whatever the procedures are. But unfortunately, I don't know the specifics of how to go about doing that. I can address some of the traffic enforcement issues, though, that Ardo might have kind of alluded to. Just so you guys know, due to our staffing levels, we have completely eliminated our traffic enforcement unit. There's whatever traffic enforcement is being done, it's done by the beat officer. I generally, myself, I'll write 1 or 2 tickets a day, just to try and address some things, but it's completely our own prerogative between other calls and things. So that's not something that we have the staffing to specifically address at this time.
And what's the most common ticket you're writing? Speeding or?
Yeah, so I'm one of a handful of officers at the department that are trained in with the radar LiDAR. So I will go out there and do radar enforcement of some of our critical areas. A lot of our traffic deaths are on the parkway. We know how crazy people drive to and from, between the freeways, trying to get to and from work and things. So That's a real point of concern. But unfortunately, you know, some of the neighborhood things where you're just right in the neighborhood, those will, you know, when I come upon things like that, those actually become exhibition of speed, because I generally don't have time to go find the radar gun and, you know, get them for speed like that. If they're burning tires, if it's excessive like that to where you hear them, you hear the tires squealing and stuff, that's prima facie exhibition of speed. So that's a pretty easy ticket. And then if there's other people involved, if there's multiple people that we can say that they're showing off for or something like that, we can actually tow their cars. And we make an effort of doing that too. So it's just as much as we can. And unfortunately, we kind of have to be there and see it ourselves. It's one of those things that we can't testify to if we don't see it.
What if the neighbor sees it and takes pictures and follows the kid home?
Yeah, we can't do it. We can't take any enforcement action based on somebody else's thing like that for traffic.
Well, any other questions? Do you have any questions for the mayor before you leave?
You probably have some for me. I'll see you outside. No. Yeah, anybody else? All right, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, if anybody wants to volunteer for the neighborhood council, we could use your help once in a while, and just feel free to put your name on the list there. And if you want to get on the robocall, put a star next to your name. And Dolores, if you're interested in coming up and giving the treasurer's report.
Oh, you want me to do it now?
Yeah, if you don't mind. And then we'll get to the mayor. So this is our treasurer, Dolores. She's going to give us the report. We want to be as transparent as possible, so
Okay.
here you go.
Our previous balance as of December 31st of 2022.
Use the microphone.
Oh yeah, hold on.
No.
I'm thinking of what I wrote down. 22, $6,107.10. The membership dues from January to December of last year was $445. We also had a deposit from Sims donation from 2021 when we did a cleanup, and that was $244.20. And then we did a cleanup October the 22nd. And what we do is we ask for a donation, and we got a donation of $532. It was so high because somebody was cleaning out a house. And so if he would have gone to the dump, he would have paid much more. So he gave us a very generous contribution. So the total deposit, $1,221.20. Now we had expenses, $40 for our RNCC dues for last year, and our supplies, one for $54.82 and another one for $32.89. And when we do our cleanup, we did one for October the 22nd. We buy donuts and coffee, and for the people that are helping, and that came to $37.44. And our postal P.O. box, which they really increased, it was like about 130 something prior to the pandemic. They went up to $102. And let's see, and then we did a contribution to the Hilltop Community Church for letting us, what should I say, for letting us stay here. And then, let's see, okay, and then we also had an expense for the executive board luncheon, and it was $241, and we went to the Pear Street Bistro for that. And the total expense, $808.15. and our balance is $6,520.15. And then what we put down is our membership. Last year, 51 people renewed. The prior year, 2021 was 40, and then 2020 it was 32 people. And our new membership for last year was 2. The prior year for 2021 was 1, and then 2025. And that's it. Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And it's important for us to continue to do the functions here. We're going to have a career fair here in possibly May, National Night Out, October, Halloween, trunk or treat. So we're hoping to get community members to step up, especially for some of these functions like National Night Out. So again, I wanted to thank Pastor Lauren for letting us use this facility, and Gosney for filming. And so that being said, the moment we've all been waiting for, our new mayor, Mayor Eduardo Martinez.
Well, 15 days on the job, which isn't much time to get much done, but it is enough time to be oriented into what the job consists of. The transition wasn't that transparent, so I've had to pick up a lot of pieces just by asking a lot of questions of the current staff and building on what I know as council member. If I weren't a council member, I think the job would have been impossible. But I have three staff members. One of them is here helping me, Tony Tamayo, who is Assistant Chief of Staff, Shiva Mashek, who is my Chief of Staff, and then B.K. White, Ryan K. White, who is a Policy Analyst. With these people, I'm able to get information out, the kind of information that I wanted to get out when I was a council member, but was unable to because I didn't have the bandwidth to do it. As you know, I'm a retired elementary school teacher. I taught for 18 years, Downer Elementary, Sheldon Elementary. And what a lot of people don't know is that being a teacher is actually a 24/7 job. If you're a good teacher, you're thinking about it all the time. You're grading papers, meeting with parents, going to school functions, going to functions of the kids that you represent. I've been to a lot of quinceañeras, a lot of confirmations, and you just get out with the community. And as a council member, and as a council member, I did the same. I really don't understand how someone can have a job and be the mayor at the same time. It's impossible. But people do it, so I guess it's not impossible. But I want to be the kind of mayor that is there for you, the public, 24/7. On my business card, I have my cell phone number so that people can contact me directly if you need to. Otherwise, you can call my office and my staff will route you to the right people that you need to speak to for your issue. I am a union person. I believe that Richmond is a union city, and I want to make sure that all the workers in the city of Richmond are protected and have the pay that they deserve. So my doors are open to everyone. I didn't come with a prepared speech. I thought I would just talk from my heart and let you know who I am as an individual. I'm actually open to questions. So if you have any questions as to how things should go, then and you were quick.
Now I got a number one question. Speed bumps. Why is it that the city of Richmond you have to go through a long, prolonged process, and the speed bumps have to be engineered into the street. When in fact, many cities, Albany, El Cerrito, Berkeley, Hercules, most of the time when somebody needs a speed bump or they request speed bumps, they put down the temporaries, and then eventually they'll get to putting in an actual engineered speed bump. That's what the city of Richmond needs to do. That's what needs to be done in front of her house, my house, his house. That's what we need to do. Get temporary speed bumps down, mark the street, and be done with this. And then when you get the money, although you actually got the money years ago when we had a street improvement tax, then you can start engineering the street bumps in. But this is what's wrong with Richmond. To get a street bump in this damn city, you gotta wait 3, 4, 5 years. You gotta do petitions like Jerry did over there on Shane, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe you can do something about that.
Okay, that's really a good suggestion. The city of Richmond has been running so long on protocol, and a lot of it is ancient, and it's time to improve things, to streamline things. I'm sure that many of you have gone to planning to get things built, and you know how long that takes. A very long process. We have if you do a development, you have to go to the planning commission, to the designing review, and sometimes you get bumped back and forth. You know, there's a lot of things that can be streamlined. So I will take your suggestion, and my assistant chief of staff is here. He is taking notes, and we will look into what we can do to speed up the process. And I do like the idea of putting temporaries down where there are issues, because the issues don't go away. They need to be dealt with immediately. And that's a good suggestion, to deal with it temporarily and then have it engineered for the permanent ones. Yes?
Yeah, following up with what he said, in my petition and complaint some years ago, you say you have an open door policy.
Yes.
Okay, I would like to get from you at the end of the meeting, a day that I could come down and sit and talk with you.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of things that I need to hear in terms of what is the vision for the city of Richmond. You've been a city council member for a number of years, so you're very familiar. Now that you're mayor, nothing's new to you. You know what's going on in the city. You know what the city needs. And the motto around the city is a city of pride and purpose. When is Richmond going to live up to that? Who put that there to begin with? What was the purpose of putting it there?
Yeah,
This city has a lot of potential.
it does.
But nobody has a vision to get anything done. Every city around us is moving, improving. We are going backwards.
I do have a vision of how our city should move forward. As a planning commissioner, I went all over the city. I looked at places, and everywhere I go, I get a picture of what Richmond can become. Number one, instead of spending all of our time trying to build things on toxic sites, we need to concentrate on infill. You know, we have Cutting Boulevard with lots of empty lots. We have McDonald Avenue with lots of empty buildings. And we have 23rd, all of the main thoroughfares, San Pablo Avenue. We need to concentrate on those and get them built up, because we need density so that we have more people in one spot.
And you have that beautiful parkway.
Yes.
That you guys put in here years ago. It was one of the major throughways through the city into San Rafael, San Francisco, whatever. It's filthy.
Right.
The better, if you prioritize no other street in Richmond, that should be constantly kept clean.
Yeah, and we also have the issue of staffing. So
It's always something.
yeah, well, but there are things that can be solved. You know, you recognize the problem, then you find a solution. And that's what I'm doing For instance, I'm trying to find out how many vacancies we have, what those vacancies are, and then prioritize those vacancies in terms of importance to get business done. You know, I've done that. I'm trying to do that with SEIU. I've done that with, I'm trying to do it with Local 21, and we know very well what the vacancies are in the police department and the fire department because they've been very vocal about their vacancies.
And generating revenue, where are the businesses, the restaurants and retail? I mean, I'm going out of the area to shop
Right.
and eat, and I should be doing that here.
And that's my opinion too. I have this, you know, I think we need to revisit our general plan and look at the city and figure out where we can have what I call commercial neighborhood nodes, where we can build, invest in businesses in neighborhoods so that you don't have to drive across town to buy a loaf of bread. You don't have to drive across town to get a haircut or to have a cup of coffee with friends. So, you know, cities like Oakland, you know, has what I call neighborhood nodes. You know, there's Temescal, Rockridge, Fruitvale, Park Street. You know, there's these places that people can go to, that they can walk to or bicycle to. And I think Richmond needs to start looking at itself in that same way. We did a charrette on McDonald Avenue, and what we found was that people who live half a mile on either side of McDonald Avenue spend about 85% of their expendable income outside of the city. So that's money that we're losing. That's money that's not coming back to us. So we need to build a city that keeps people here, that not only keeps people here, but attracts people. If we're going to build something on the shoreline, I would like to see a hotel at the Craneway or nearby the Craneway, the ferry. If we did that, we could start attracting business from San Francisco because the ferry would take people back and forth. It would be cheaper to rent a room in Richmond than it would be to rent a room in San Francisco. So we'd get a lot of their business here in Richmond, and once we get them on this side, we can start attracting them to other things that we have on this side. So these are big dreams, but they're possible if we look for grant monies, if we can imagine it together. Hilltop, I've always, you know, when I drive to Sacramento and I come back, I know Hilltop's there, but I can't really see it. You know, because Hilltop, even though it's called Hilltop, is actually in a little caldera. And you don't know it's there unless you know it's there. So in my head, what I see is an avenue, possibly Shane, going straight down to the center with tree-lined streets, with shopping and restaurants on both sides, and housing on top and behind to supply the customers for that center. I also see building a walkway from Hilltop down to the lake and making the lake part of a park that's usable by people who come to Hilltop to do shopping. I see an entertainment center. And I also see a building that can be seen from the freeway, and I would hope that it would be an architectural style that would draw people in. I know that when I go to San Francisco, when I drive to Sacramento, there's the Ziggurat building, you know, and they keep it lit up, you know, and I've always been fascinated by it. It keeps drawing me until, you know, it's fascinating me so much that I finally drove there to see what it was. And I wouldn't have ever gone there if it hadn't been the building that drew me there. But when I got there, I saw that it wasn't really a building for pedestrians, you know, it was a business building. But at the same time, it was on the shoreline. And so even though I had no business in the building, I did take time to buy some sandwiches, and to stroll along the shore of the Sacramento River. So those are the kinds of things I see for Richmond. And at the conference for mayors, I talked to a lot of people who were also interested in my ideas.
I'm a long-time supporter of the Progressive Alliance and supporter of your work. But recently, all the dreams I totally agree, but at the same time, I'm also a little bit concerned about the Richmond finance that you inherited. I don't know how we got into the state, but I know that Richmond finance is a worrying state. It's out there in California, like one of the major cities that Richmond is in. It's not high ranking. We're not the lowest, but we are kind of like the top 10 lowest. And it's a problem. And I heard your vision, but do you see that some of the vision actually might have probably been implemented if it could be done, and then you would probably inherit of the economy might be slowing down? I mean, the stock market talks about it, everyone knows about it, worrying about it. So how would you put that into balance of some of the progressive agenda, and also, like, this is pro-business, that would inherit, like this 2 years, you would inherit the problem?
Right, yeah. Well, we do have a lot of financial woes, we're in the top 10 bottom cities, and but we're working our way off the list. And a lot of the things that we've done since the progressives have been in has helped us do that. For instance, before the progressives took over the council, we were doing swap trades. And the swap trades were actually cost us $60 million in penalty fees. That's $60 million that could have gone to the economy of the city, that could have funded a lot of stuff that we don't have now. So fiscal responsibility has been one of the main things that I've been hammering on, and those getting rid of the swap trades and getting fixed loans so that we can predict what our economy looks like as we go on year to year has been a big thing, and it's something that was noticed by the auditors. They congratulated us on that. There's they also agreed that Measure U was a good thing because it brings more revenue to the city of Richmond. So we need more revenue, and we need to find ways to do that.
Well, I heard Councilman Zepeda ask if they could create a finance committee. Are you in favor of that? And how are you going to handle the $166 million unfunded liabilities the city is saddled with?
Yeah, the finance committee is something that Nat Bates and I have constantly tried to implement, and we didn't have the votes for that. So Nat Bates and I brought it forth and kept getting voted down, and I'm for it. I think, especially for the other council members, there's not enough time for us to review the budget the way it needs to be reviewed. And so, the budget committee, the finance committee, would be a committee that would do that work for the council, and then give a report out to the council so that the council would have a better idea of how they should vote. They would have a better understanding of how the budget works. So the unfunded liability is a major problem, not just for our city, but every single city in the state of California. I don't, maybe you know this. Are there any cities that do not have an unfunded liability?
Vallejo and Stockton both had to declare bankruptcy because of the unfunded liability.
Right.
I'm saying, and what happens when you file bankruptcy? All the union contracts are null and void.
Right.
I say that's a lose-lose for everybody.
Right. Yeah. And which is why we need to
Address it.
Sorry, and when he talked about the 160, that was the 160 million was only for the safety departments, police and fire.
Right.
For the city, it's closer to $302 million,
Right.
according to the city manager 2 months ago.
Yeah. So,
It's a bunch of bucks.
yeah, and every time you hire someone, every time someone retires, it goes up. So how do you give people things that they were promised because they worked?
You go back to the bargaining table.
Yeah, that takes care of future ones, but it doesn't take care of all the
That's
ones
it.
in the past. Yes.
I've got a couple of questions, but
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Go
want to ask, when you talk about revenue, and then I wonder what you're going to do to make Measure U actually work instead of running
I'm
businesses
sorry.
out of town.
They can't hear you back there, so I'll give you the mic.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I was just going to ask, in terms of Measure U, business tax kind of thing, the way it's being handled now, it's an interesting concept because it looks at gross income as a basis for your tax.
Right.
And it doesn't take into account your cost of doing business. And it seems to me if it did take into account your cost of doing business, it would be better received by larger businesses. So I was kind of hoping somebody might want to work on that at some point. And I think we get more revenue. I think now we're on danger of losing revenue because some businesses are wanting to get hell out of the city so they don't have to pay that much tax. So anyway, thanks.
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
So we have a neighborhood council back here, Parkchester Neighborhood Council. Our neighborhood council and 2 other neighborhood councils have been in talks with Prologis, the new owners of Hilltop Mall. And Costco has expressed an interest into coming up here. They're worth $244 billion. And people talk about Measure U. They can sustain Measure U without a problem. Would you be open to having a Costco up here?
I'd be open to anything if it makes sense. I'd have to see the plans, because one thing I don't want to do is to plan piecemeal. If Costco says they want to come up here and we have no idea as to what goes around it, I think that's problematic because Costco being here will actually determine what happens next. Do we want houses next to a Costco? Maybe, maybe not. So it really depends on how we imagine Hilltop Mall to be developed. So, I'd have to see the plans. And speaking to that, it just goes to show that Measure U is not so onerous as some people make it out to be, because Costco is willing to build another store here, even though they've been made out to be one of the people who are hit hardest by Measure U. Harry?
My name is Harry and I own a gas station on the other side of the freeway.
Can you stand up?
I have a little strip center over there and a gas station. One question I have for you is, every time you go to a planning department, they give you a runaround. I have built that station, it took me 3 years, just a runaround. I built the strip center, took me 3 years. Running around with the building, planning department, do this, do that. I'm just going through another one in November. Go see Lydia, go see this one, go see this one. Just for one little thing. It's just a runaround. Small businessmen cannot run around. And then they have raised so much business tax. Where I was paying 2019, $500 business license. 2020 paid $500. 2021 paid $500, $495. 2022 I paid $10,000. And small business cannot afford it. They're going to be out of business. That's why everybody's closing around us, running to other cities. Like the Toyota guy said that he will go to Vallejo, open an office over there, and keep the cars here to do a business because he doesn't have to pay them business tax.
Yeah.
We need some help from you that somehow talk to the planning city, the building department, that small businesses, they're just getting run around.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, I have a staff member here who's taking notes, And what I would like to do is to get as many suggestions as possible, and then once I find out how many problems there are, what kinds of problems there are, I would like to figure out the best solution for all of them. I've been in North Richmond, and I know some business owners there who would like to do expansions, but they can't just because of setback issues, even though the setback issue could actually be solved by moving the street over to property that the city owns. But the city, basically is dealing with what they see, and we need to be more imaginative in how we approach planning. We need to be more imaginative in figuring out the kind of city that we want to live in. So, all of you, please, send me emails of suggestions, because I would like to compile them so that I can figure out how we can move forward to the betterment of everyone.
But see, same work in Fairfield, I have 2 gas stations. I go there, same work done over the counter. Over here, it took you 6 months to, oh, he has it, he didn't look at it, he has it, he's on
Right.
vacation. I mean, just to run around.
Right, yeah, and so I will have conversations with the planning department, find out, why we do things the way that we do, and find out why we can't do it differently, so that we can move businesses into the city of Richmond more quickly.
You got a business card you're gonna leave?
Yeah,
You got it, okay, good.
thank you.
That'd be helpful.
Yes,
This time you're pointing at me?
yes.
I had double cataract surgery the other day, so I can't see anything. I'm going to go back to traffic calming solutions. In the past 4 months, 5 out of the 7 council members have advocated for traffic calming solutions in their district instead of the city of Richmond. And they want it done without traffic studies. Just saying, I'm a city council member, do what I tell you to do. My buddies and friends are voting along with me. You've got to do what we're saying. Do you advocate that kind of mentality, or do you advocate that traffic studies ought to be warranted to actually determine whether the need is there and that the money should be spread around the city of Richmond based on need as opposed to political expediency?
Amen.
I think there is a need all over the city of Richmond, and the idea of traffic studies, I believe that they're needed. But for instance, you have an issue with problems that are real, and the question is, do we need to do a traffic study in order to cure your problem? I don't think so. I think I think we should deal with it. But we also know that there are major issues around schools, so we need to be thoughtful about it and immediately deal with issues around schools where we have a lot of children walking. It only makes sense to do that first. To do traffic calming around community centers where a lot of people gather, and then move on from there. But someone back there had their hand up?
Well, it's just a couple things. You mentioned that the traffic study because they have a need. Well, I'm sure that they have a need, but there are other people that have needs too. And like he said, they're picking and choosing. There's other people that have been waiting. For example, we have floods. We were one biscuit away from being flooded into Parchester. Every year you come and sis that sign there that says flooding. So they know that it floods. It floods from the north, it floods from the east, and it flows to the west. As soon as it floods from the south, we cannot get out. So when you say people have needs, who's looking at the urgency of them, not in a preferred neighborhood? That's why some of these studies need to be done. Because just like this woman who's been waiting for 3 years, somebody may get one in 1 month. So who's to say that she has to wait 3 years and this person has to wait 1 month?
Right, which is what I was addressing. If people have needs, they need the council, the city needs to be made aware of them, and we need to act on them immediately, depending on the severity. It sounds like your situation is a major situation, And I don't want to go there. I think the way that our staff has dealt with emergency situations has not been equitable. We had a community that was evacuated, and they were provided hotels for themselves, for their pets. And then
Luscious hotels.
yeah, and not even in the city of Richmond,
That's
in Emeryville. So, but there's other communities who had issues, and when I tried to address that, I was told that that is the purview of the Red Cross. That's the purview of the county. And it was difficult for me to get any movement. In fact, I got no movement. And that is something that I will deal with. I want to be the mayor of the people. I want to represent...
And the people want a mayor. We really do, for all people.
And
Everything aside, it's a new year, we're coming in saying, okay, how can we work together and get some things done?
I'm ready to do that. My ears are open. I have staff now that can help me work through these things. So when you get a card, sign up for a time to talk with me. We'll sit down, we'll talk about your issues. We'll see if we can come up with solutions or a path forward.
And one other thing, we all want to stay involved, and we desperately want to know what's going on with the city. In the past, some of these meetings have gone to the middle of the night. What can you do to not have these extended meetings, so that when we come prepared via Zoom, or if we ever go back to live, we're getting to the meat and not having to have 5-hour meetings? Because some of these midnight meetings, I've gone to sleep on you guys and woke up and it's still been going. So I would greatly appreciate if we could cut the time and just get to the court. And that's my last.
Okay, and,
request.
well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
My voice is kind of weak, but had surgery. Why does it take so long in Richmond to get a simple thing as a permit? I mean, I've been trying to get a permit just to put a solar on my house. I mean, like you said, just a bunch of runaround. Something simple. That's not a project to put a solar on top of a house. But can't get the permit. So I'm wondering, why is everything in Richmond just takes so long?
It wasn't always that way. Richmond used to be great, but it's just terrible now. I remember a time it was tremendous. A lot of stuff happened.
Well, I hope to make it great again.
Be careful.
I know.
Didn't you know you were one of those guys?
I know. But, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that as the new chair of the RNCC, what I can promise you is I can start collecting information from Parkchester Neighborhood Council and other neighborhood councils and make sure it gets to you.
Yes.
And make sure you act on it.
That would be greatly appreciated. And as some of you know, I do respond to suggestions. When people ask me questions, I try to answer them as soon as possible. And if I don't have the answer, I ask the people who might know the answer. Yes, sir.
Between the campaigns and even after the newly elected city council members took office, okay, we are hearing repeatedly that we do not have city council members representing the city of Richmond. We've got District X, the mayor of District X, the mayor of District Y. As the mayor of Richmond, can we count on you to try to rein them in and remind them that they were elected and they actually took an oath to represent the entire city? Because we just had two of the new council members just the other night talk about demanding equity to ensure that when emergency dollars for safety calming and such were spent, that their district got a fair share of it, because it'd be split up evenly. Didn't matter where the need was in Richmond, as long as their district was taken care of. And again, it seems like they're no longer representing the city of Richmond, they're representing their own little fiefdom.
Yeah, and when we went to districts, that was one of my fears, and it seems to be happening, because I do remember the meeting that you're talking about where various council members were saying that we need to make sure that the money is spent equally with every district without taking into account that some districts have greater needs. Some districts are more dense. Other districts are spread out. So if there's traffic issues and the district is spread out, they're obviously going to need more traffic calming. So if the district is more dense, then their issues isn't as great in terms of traffic calming. It's other areas that are of importance. So I believe in One Richmond, and as mayor, I'm going to try to make sure that that happens. I do want to say that in terms of making meetings be more accessible to the community, I had to adjourn closed session, even though there were several people who had their hands up and had comments to make. And I had to remind them that we have an audience, we have the public, we have our constituents waiting for us. And because of that, I'm going to close the session. And if there's things that you feel are essential to say, we continue it after the open session is over. And instead, because it's important, we're having a special session on January 31st. Yes?
I'm not faulting you on this, just pointing out, we've had 2 meetings since you became mayor, and both of them have started 20 minutes past the original start time. Again, you got people saying, how long do we wait? Hoping that they're going to start. School district is the same way. Sometimes they don't start till after 9 o'clock. Okay? But then just an observation, as somebody that actually tries to watch all of your meetings, sometimes the individual council members just keep talk, and they're not talking about the business at hand. And that's where I would hope that you'd have an iron-fisted, gavel-toting mayor slamming it down and says, invoke the Corky rule. You can't just keep talking and talking. We've got business at hand, because if you look at the people participating on that Zoom meeting, the numbers just keep going lower and lower, and you get to the heavy stuff at 10:30 till 11 o'clock, and there's only 2 of us left in the audience.
Yeah, and I do want to have a conversation with the council about being succinct. Because I have noticed that some council members say something, then they repeat it, and then they repeat it, and then they repeat it. And it could have been done well just saying it one time.
So there's enough blame to go around. It's not pointing the finger at anyone.
Yeah, no.
I got 7 fingers.
I know. And thumb always goes back to you. So anyway, yeah. So I am trying to streamline my meeting. And the other thing is that we have new council members, some of them who have never been on a governing body, so they have to learn the protocol, and that takes some time. So I hope that the meetings have a more kind, gentler demeanor. I do want the city of Richmond to look respectful, and when people watch the city council meetings, I want them to see it as as a meeting of business as opposed to a circus.
You've also got staff members on their own time sitting there for hour after hour waiting for their presentation and this stuff. That's disrespectful to our city workers.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Any more questions? I see that Councilman Zepeda came in. Would you like to ask a question?
Councilmember Zepeda, would you like to come up?
I don't have a question, I just come up and say hi.
There you go.
I get to ask the questions all day long.
And I do want to congratulate Zepeda on the work that he did at Quite Richmond. So I've got good words on how you dealt with that.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, everybody. I'm the newly elected council member for District 2 on the other part of the and on the sentiment, right, of representing the city as a whole is why I thank Arthur for inviting me here. I believe in district elections. I believe there's power in district elections, but we also have to know that the decisions that we make have to be made as for the whole city, right? And I think that's what you were saying earlier today as well. So that's what I'm hoping to be able to do, working for our constituents. I've been in this position for 17 days, and so have you, right? Maybe a little longer, maybe, since you were councilman before. And not that I'm counting, but it's been a great 17 days that it became officially official. We started working ahead of that because, as Mayor Martinez was mentioning, we had a landslide in Point Richmond, and that is how I found out the cell phone number for our city manager. She was calling me at midnight, and I thought it was somebody trying to sell me something at midnight, right? You get all those random calls from other countries and whatever, they want to sell you car insurance. And I was like, I'm picking it up, it's midnight. And then she finally, after a couple of times, she texted me, she said, Councilmember Zepeda, please pick up, it's an emergency. And I was like, oh, and that's how I found out her phone number. So even before I was officially sworn in, I got up and I went to a landslide area to make sure that I was there for the residents. Right? That's part of District 2, but I'm here to help out for the rest of the city. We're going to have a lot of, hopefully working together with our budget, working together with other issues that are going to affect the rest of the city. And I look forward to partnering with Mayor Martinez and other of her colleagues. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Even if I'm just right on the other side of the street, again, we get to represent the whole city as well. So, thank you.
Okay, if there's any other questions, I'm willing to take them. Otherwise, I'll turn it back over to Argo, who, by the way, has been fantastic in terms of leading this neighborhood council. You know, as a matter of fact, he does keep me informed as to what's going on. He does text me a lot of questions, which allows me to be more insightful. Not insightful, but insightful. So,
Thank you. Well, everybody, I want to thank you all for coming out. I want to thank the mayor. And this is our guy, so I'm sure you have some cards you can leave.
yes.
And so, everybody, thank you. And by the way, if you get a chance, start watching the city council meetings. They're on YouTube, as well as you can find a link to the Zoom meetings on the city website. It's important that everybody start understanding what direction our city's heading in. And that goes for the school board as well. I don't know if you guys are aware, but our teachers are planning on going on strike. They're not being paid what they should be paid, and it's important to support our teachers as well as our city. So thank you all for coming out tonight, and thanks again. Take care.